Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome.
Je réside en Paris. Voulez-vous? Voulez-vous venir?
I was standing at 15, waiting for my baby's car. Just then out stepped the driver of a limousine and asked if I was going far. I said, I've got my mind made up. I don't wanna leave here, baby, 'cause it's clear to me that it's just too tough to find another lover like mine. With the right stuff, baby. I don't wanna miss out on the right stuff. Ooh, no, with Mr. Right. Sing. You like this girl? Just Friday, about a week ago, this fella called me on the phone. He said, I live in Paris, don't you want to go? I know you must be all alone. Well, it'll take more than a fancy trip or a chauffeured limousine, 'cause I've never seen no one who can give me love like this. The other fellas don't compare to the right stuff. The right stuff, baby. I don't wanna miss out on the right stuff. Ooh, no, with Mr. Right. Say, he's the only one to give me that loving, 'cause next to him there is no other one. He's very sexy and oh so sweet, and he knocks me off my feet. Say it. Ooh yeah, help me sing it again. I need the right stuff. I got to have the right stuff, baby. I don't wanna miss out on the right stuff. Say na 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 na. Ha!
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Teaching with the Right Stuff. I know I probably showed my age with that song, but when I think about the name of this webinar, I always think about that song because I am going to help you teach with the right stuff. I am Tiffany Barner Davis, and welcome to Introduction to Teaching with the Right Stuff. So let's see who's here. I know we have two that are in the room with us. If you would, in the chat box, say where you are from and what your position is. And as you're doing that in the chat, as we go throughout our time today, I want you to, and I'm not sure why it looks like it's covered up. If there are any postable moments, something that you want to remember, something that makes you say, wow, something that it makes you say, aha, it's an aha moment, you can go on to Facebook or Instagram at Give Consulting and post your postable moments as we go throughout our time today. So we have a special education teacher in the room. Thank you so much for joining us. And you don't necessarily have to say where you are or who you are in the chat, but we welcome you to continue to use the chat as we go throughout our time together tonight. So let's me say, just give you a little bit of background of who I am. Again, I am Tiffany Barner Davis. I am currently the early literacy lead in Clayton County Public Schools. And what that means is I work with kindergarten through second grade teachers. I actually work with all elementary teachers, but my focus within my position is kindergarten through second grade teachers. And I do conduct professional development, coaching, modeling, just pretty much giving whatever type of support the school needs in kindergarten through second grade in English language arts. So early literacy lead is the name of that position. This is my 23rd year in education. I know I have somewhat of a baby face and may not look like I've been doing this for 23 years, but I'm proud to say that all of my 23 years have been in Clayton County. I started out as a second grade teacher, then moved from second grade teacher. I did that for about 5 years. Just about everything happens in my life in about fives. Went from second grade teacher to EIP teacher. Now, I did that for 1 year. I did EIP from kindergarten to third grade. After EIP, I became a literacy coach, did literacy coaching for about 5 years. And it was in that position where I realized my passion, and that my passion lied in professional development for teachers and coaching teachers. That's where I discovered my love for coaching and coaching teachers in their potential. After that, I went back into the classroom and did fourth grade and fifth grade, actually fifth grade, then fourth, for about 5 years. Became a gifted resource teacher. So I've been all over, done kind of a little bit of everything. Became a gifted resource teacher, did that for a few years before coming into this position. I have also had the opportunity to present at the Griffin RISA. I've presented there twice and presented at the Georgia Association of Gifted Children conference. I've presented there as well. Of course, I present in my district, in the district level, very often at schools as requested. You can also see that I have had the opportunity to be Teacher of the Year at 2 different schools in 2 different times. So I appreciate that opportunity. And you can see that I do have a picture with a mic in my hand. So I sing every now and then, not as much as I used to, but I do sing a little bit. And I am a wife, and we have a family. It's a family of 3. And you can also see that I am a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. And thank you to my soror for supporting this evening. as well. So that's a little bit about me. Let's see who we have in the room. You told me where you were from, but now I want to know a little bit about what brought you here to this webinar this evening. So what is your testimony? Is it one, you're wondering what students are supposed to do in writing? What are they expected to know and be able to do? Two, you have a wide range of abilities that are in your room or that you support, and you're wondering, how do you get to all of them? That also kind of is coupled with, where do I start? What kind of program can I follow? Or writing is really becoming a part of the back burner, and we always focusing on one other thing, and writing seems to be, where do I begin? It's kind of not, sometimes non-existent. So I'm going to launch a poll, and if you would tell me what your testimony is. The poll is open now. Okay, we have half of us are here because we are trying to understand what students are expected to know and be able to do in writing. Okay, we're going to go ahead and end the poll. And today's webinar is going to get you started on knowing what students are expected to know and be able to do. So we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. I want to make sure I meet your needs. All right, so tonight we're going to delve into the Fab Four of teaching writing. The Fab Four of teaching writing. And as you can see, those Fab Four are the standards, the students, the strategies, and the sequence of instruction. The standards really tell us the what, the students are the who, the strategies give us what we want to do with the students, and the sequence will tell us how the instruction should flow. So let's go ahead and delve right in to the standards. When we talk about the standards, those Common Core standards, they are divided into 4 sections. Those 4 sections are text types and purposes. Of course, those are the genres of writing, the range of writing. Well, why am I writing? With the range of writing, we're talking about writing for different reasons, then the production and distribution of writing, and research to build and present knowledge. So when we go back up to our text types and purposes, we know that the standards have 3 text types. Those text types are narrative, information or informative explanatory, and opinion argumentative. When you are in elementary school, of course, you have narrative, informative, and opinion, but once you cross over into 6th grade, that opinion then becomes argumentative. So we get a little more sophisticated with our writing and argumentative, because we have those arguments, then we have a counter argument, and we think about those things. Okay, with the standard for W1, that's the opinion or argumentative standard. It tells us that we have to have a claim that we are supporting. So of course, in opinion writing, we have an opinion, and a lot of us think about Oreo, having that opinion, the reasons for that opinion, explaining that and restating that opinion. With arguments, we definitely want to make sure that this one is a text based writing, meaning I have to have evidence from text when I am supporting my argument or supporting my opinion. W2 is our informative standard for Common Core. And that is where we're examining text, we're examining complex ideas and writing about them in an organizational pattern that analyzes that content. So we're giving that information, we're explaining what we have read and what we are teaching our reader. W3 in Common Core, it's our narrative standard. And this is where students are writing real or imagined stories that are in sequence. They have a well-chosen structure and they're doing making sure that they have a good plot structure, that we're rising and falling like we should in our narrative writing. Then when we think about the range of writing, that is our W10 standard, and it just talks about the different reasons why we write. We write to reflect, we write to revise, we write for researching. We've researched and we're writing about that research. So that standard kind of covers that expectation. When we talk about production and the distribution of writing, that's making sure that students have a clear organizational structure in their writing, that they are producing that writing in various ways using technology, maybe even doing speeches. Those are different ways that they can produce and distribute their writing so that others can hear it. For research, to build and present knowledge, that is our W4 standard. And this again is talking about the development of the writing, using research to put into that writing, making sure that we are producing writing that is aligned to the task, whatever the prompt is that we're being asked to write about, that we are writing for a specific purpose and the writing reflects that purpose, and the audience that we are writing for. So depending on what audience we're writing to and what the purpose is or the task that is at hand, we make sure that our writing aligns to that. Develop and strengthen that writing through the writing process, of course, planning, drafting, revising, editing, and publishing that writing, as well as in W6, it talks about us using technology and the internet to produce that writing. So last but not least, you see on this slide, the truth about grammar instruction. And I know that this really bothers some teachers, but the truth is, when it comes to grammar instruction, it really should be taught within the context of writing instead of isolated. So we don't want to just teach grammar in isolation, but we want to teach it within the process of writing so students can actually apply that grammar knowledge to their writing. So when would they apply that grammar knowledge? In the revising and editing section of the writing process. So that's what we want to make sure that we do. All right, so moving from the standards to the students. With the students, we start out with foundational writing skills. And by me being a K2 elementary ELA lead, we know that foundational skills or foundational writing skills are important. And the students need to practice these skills. They need to know how to hold a pencil, how to form those letters. However, I, again, feel like this is also something that does not have to happen in isolation. These foundational writing skills can be interwoven into when I am having students write. Even in kindergarten, when students are learning sounds and they're learning letters, they can practice their foundational skills when writing those letters and mapping that sound to a symbol. And as they're practicing that symbol, the teacher can give that feedback. Are you, you know how sometimes they say from the ceiling to the floor, make sure you're going from the ceiling to the floor, all of those different ways that teachers get students to really think about how they're forming their letters. It can happen in the midst of the instruction. And as we think about how students perform in writing, the standards themselves really kind of give you a writing continuum. So if you are a second grade teacher, we would say that the second grade writing standard would be a proficient learner. A proficient learner in second grade would write to the standard because the standards are really going to give us those expectations on grade level. So that proficient learner on grade level is going to be able to do what the standard calls for. If I'm thinking about those who are distinguished learners, then I may look at the third grade standard, because in English language arts and the Common Core standards, they really build on each other and create that continuum. So if I'm thinking about if a student is proficient and I want to push them a little further, I can look to third grade and look at that third grade standard. And it's really going to give me what a distinguished learner should be able to do in writing. The opposite is also true. If I have that proficient learner, then I can look at the first grade writing standards, and that will tell me what the developing learner looks like for second grade. So I can look at those standards and say, okay, can the student do what the first grade standard calls for? If not, I'll look back even further to the kindergarten, and that would make that student be a beginning learner. So the standards in and of themselves not only tell you exactly what the students are supposed to know and be able to do, but it also gives you that continuum so that you could actually really create writing groups in your classroom. When it comes to the ESOL learners and learners with specific needs, this can also speak to them as well, because it will let you know where they are, and you can use the continuum to talk about where they need to go next. So if they're at the beginning learner level, or if they're writing on a kindergarten level, then we know what strategies and what ideas and what strategies that we can use to get them to move further. Okay, so that is the students. So let's move on now to the strategies. When we are talking about strategies in writing, one of the highest leverage strategies is the use of mentor text. A mentor text really does give students an opportunity to see an example of the type of writing that they're being asked to do. So if I'm asking a student to write an informational text, then we're going to look at an example of an informational text and use that as a mentor. We're going to look at it and see, well, how did the author organize the writing? What did the author do to help you understand it better? What did the author put in the writing? Do we see bolded words? And that kind of gets into the text features. So it's like I'm teaching, of course, reading and writing are reciprocal acts. So even looking at the mentor text, I can teach reading skills as well as it be an example of writing skills. And then really teaching writing is best done, in my opinion, it is best done in the writing workshop model. So as we work through the writing process, we're going to take it chunk by chunk, little by little, in mini lessons. So if we are about to look at a specific prompt, we're going to look at that prompt, we're going to dissect that prompt, create a rubric for that prompt, look at the rubric, create a checklist. And as we move into the writing process, we kind of start with that brainstorming. And that would be my mini lesson. We've already looked at it. We already know what we're writing about. So that mini lesson would be just on brainstorming. Give them a graphic organizer and have them brainstorm around that topic. Maybe they're drawing pictures at this point, or they're writing sentences, or they're writing lists of things to help them brainstorm about the topic. Then after I have given a mini lesson, then I'm going to have them practice exactly that. I'm not going to have them move on to pre-writing or drafting the paper. We're just going to focus on whatever was taught in that mini lesson. So they're just going to pre-write. They're just going to brainstorm in that practice period. And during that practice period, it affords me the opportunity to have some small groups. And I know we always have small groups in reading, we hear small groups in math, but we can have small groups in writing as well. So as students are practicing during the practice period, it gives me an opportunity to pull students that I see are possibly having the same challenges. I can pull them in a group. I can give that immediate feedback. That gives that opportunity to give that feedback. And I can do all of that within that practice period. And of course, with any lesson, we want to wrap it all up and bring the students back to the mini lesson, the point of the mini lesson, and solidify what it was they were supposed to do. And then move the next day, or the next lesson would move into the next part of the writing process. So as we talk about instructional strategies for all, that really is using different scaffolds that help students along the way. Not necessarily changing the expectation, but providing them with those supports, because a graphic organizer could be a support. It could be used for some students may need it, some students may not. We may have highlighters, some students may need it, some students may not. When we think about different writing strategies, if you will, like Oreo I mentioned earlier, or the race strategy, that's to get students started with paragraph writing. It's a strategy. Some students may need that as a base to get them started, and others may not. So that in and of itself creates instructional strategies that all students can use, that whether they need them or not, they're there for them along the way. And last but not least, we have the sequence. And when we think about the sequence, it really is like, so where do I start? And it's really important, just like we do in any other subject area, that we pre-assess even in writing. And what I tend to do is at the beginning of the school year, we have what we call a beginning of year writing task. And it's like a cold write. So we give the students a text, and they're writing about that text. And so that, no instruction, just writing, because it gives me an opportunity to see what the students know and what they're able to do in writing. I'm not going to give any instruction, just going to talk about what the prompt is and let them write. And then on the back end, I'm going to look at it against the standard, against the rubric, which is aligned to the standard, against the checklist, to see, what do I notice that this student can do? And what do I notice that this student struggles with? And that's going to help me determine my sequence of instruction. It also helps determine those initial writing groups, if you will. And so after we pre-assess, we want to review the standard. We want to review the standards with the student. And we know that there may be some words in the standard that may be a little over the student's head, but let's still deconstruct it with them and come up with student-friendly language as we review the rubric, which is aligned to the standard. I want to review that with the students as well, and then create that student-friendly checklist. That checklist allows the students to be able to, one, check their own work, and also be able to check the work of their peers, so they can have some peer discussion about their writing as well. And then, of course, taking that writing process again, step by step, piece by piece, and chunking it for students along the way. And when you do, you end up kind of already knowing before you get to the end. And sometimes I will give a writing task or give a writing prompt, and students will write, and we won't see it again until it's finished. And we're like, oh my God, you had no idea what the prompt was about. You didn't write on topic. But if we take it piece by piece through the writing process and we give feedback along the way, then we know that the student will get to the end and have written something that's not on topic. So what I would like to do is to help you have some support for teaching writing. Today is really just an introduction that launches our support that we can provide, or that we will provide moving forward. So, reports for teaching writing. What can Gift Educational Consulting do for you? So this is really our inaugural group. So one, join the gift game. Our gift game gets exclusive access to anything that I'm going to do. As a matter of fact, on the way home, I was just thinking about um, getting the gift game to really give me feedback as we go into this webinar series to help me hone it in and bring it in for the upcoming course that this webinar series will turn into. So we have a webinar series that's coming up, but if you're part of the gift game, you're going to get exclusive access to this webinar series. So make sure, let me go back. So to be a part of the gift game, you want to make sure that you go into Facebook. It is an exclusive Facebook group, and look for the gift game and send me a message so that I can add you to this exclusive group, because it's not a public group. It's a private group that's just for my gift education consultant family. All right, so I want to help you in creating your own Fab 4 writing instructional playbook. So how are we going to do that? Like I said, we have a webinar series coming up. The first webinar is going to be next Monday. And we're going to take each of the Fab 4 and we're going to really delve in, break it down, and so that by the time you get through the entire series, you will have a writing instructional playbook that you can use on top of any curriculum, okay, to help supplement any curriculum that you have. And our first webinar on Monday will be on the standards, and we're going to take it piece by piece. We're going to look at the continuum of writing, those text types and purposes, and the range of writing in that first first webinar on the standards. Okay, and the webinar series, each webinar is $30 each. But like I said, you want to be a part of the gift game, because the gift game is going to have some exclusive access to this webinar series. So that is the first webinar in the series, and then the remainder of the series happens every other week, and we'll talk about those Fab 4, break them down so that you can create your own writing instructional playbook. If you sign up for all of them, you will be able to get it at a discount if you're able to sign up for all at once. If not, you can sign up individually for the ones that you want to attend. I also offer one-on-one strategy sessions. And in these strategy sessions, they are like where you can give me your questions and we can collaboratively plan to help you with what you have at hand. So a collaborative planning session, you can ask any question and it's tailored to your need. So ranging from $75 to $150, depending on how much time you would like to sign up for, you can sign up for the one-on-one strategy sessions. I also have a process protocol, or teaching with the right stuff process protocol, that's coming out mid-year, thinking around June. You can definitely pre-order that. It's going to be a supplement to any writing or any curriculum that you have, but it's going to give you a step-by-step process for teaching writing in the writing process, and gives you the scripts and the guiding questions to help you have that feedback and those small groups with students. So if you'd like to pre-order that, you can definitely pre-order that and have that when it comes out shipped directly to you. Will be an ebook. All right, and so we have gotten to the end of our time together. You can take a moment to join the community. If you scan the QR code that is on the screen. You will be able to access all of the products and any of the information that I just shared with you. You'll be able to access that in our community. Again, make sure that you are a part of the gift gang and keep up with me on all of my social media platforms and email me at any time. Thank you again, and I hope to see you in the gift gang soon.